All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning and welcome to All Indiana Politics. I'm Garrett Bergquist in for Phil Sanchez. The race for Marion County Prosecutor is unfolding amid another violent year in Indianapolis. I recently sat down with both of the candidates in that race. We begin with Democratic incumbent Ryan Mears. So Ryan Mears, thank you for joining us. Why are you running for another term as Marion County Prosecutor?
Well, I've been in the prosecutor's office my entire career. For the last 16 years, I've served the people of Marion County in various capacities in the prosecutor's office, and we're excited about the work that we're doing there. I'm a trial attorney by nature. I enjoy being in the courtroom and being in a position to hold people accountable. Under my leadership, we've never had a higher conviction rate on homicide cases. We're right around 90% on those types of offenses. But we also understand that we can't incarcerate our way out of this problem, and that we need to take a balanced approach and make sure that we're offering services to people. So it's not all about punishment, it's also about what can we do to try to help change behavior. And we've made significant progress in that area, and we're looking to build on that progress.
Indianapolis has logged record numbers of homicides under your watch. They are down a little bit this year, but they're still quite a bit higher than they were a decade ago. How can you say you're keeping the public safe?
Well, I think we can say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you look at our conviction rate, it's our job to make sure that we're holding people accountable. And again, we have a 90% conviction rate on homicide cases, which is certainly a reflection of the level of professionalism that we have inside the prosecutor's office and our ability to get in the courtroom and win cases. But I think the second part of that, and one of the more important things, is we're also working to rebuild that trust between the community and law enforcement, the criminal justice system. It's a terrible reality here, but there's a lot of people in Marion County who do not participate in the process. And as a consequence of that, we have this terrible cycle of retaliatory violence because we don't solve enough cases because people don't trust law enforcement. We work really hard to establish that level of trust in our community, and when we build that level of trust, we're going to see more people come forward and help us solve those cases. There's not a non-fatal shooting or homicide that has occurred in Marion County where someone somewhere doesn't know what happened. It's just a matter of getting those individuals to come forward, and too oftentimes they do not come forward because they don't have that trust between the criminal justice system and law enforcement. We're going to bridge that gap, help build that gap, or close that gap with some of the programmings that we do, where we can come into the community and say, this is what we're doing right here, right now, to improve the quality of life of your community, but also demonstrate that we care and that we're here to help.
Why are repeat violent offenders, such as the suspect in the fatal shooting outside a daycare, being allowed to walk the streets while they're awaiting trial?
Well, I don't want to get into necessarily specific cases, but anytime you talk about, anytime you're dealing with cases involving acts of violence, certainly it's a terrible tragedy, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power. But these cases are more complicated than what they appear on their face, and we have to, kind of be able to fashion resolutions based on the facts and evidence that's presented to us. We're an agency and an office that's not afraid to take on challenging cases, and when you're willing to take on those challenging cases, sometimes you're going to get a resolution that's less than the lead charge because you thought it was worthwhile to pursue that case to begin with. And so we're very happy that with the fact that we've been able to move forward aggressively on a number of these cases. There's a number of cases where people have been held accountable, and we're proud of that record.
What initiatives, in your opinion, are working, and what do you want to try if you are reelected?
Well, I think number one, if you look at our decision not to prosecute simple possession of marijuana, that's certainly established a tremendous level of trust in the community, where we've demonstrated that we're going to focus on what's truly important, which is violent crime, and we're not going to mess around with low-level things like possession of marijuana. We've also had a fantastic partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, where we take low-level, nonviolent offenders, and instead of doing a traditional prosecution, we get them in a safe environment where they can learn, develop skills, but we also get them hooked up with a social worker to address whatever the underlying cause or issue is that leads for these kids to be in the criminal justice system. We work very hard on expungements, and why that is so important is there are too many people in our community who are denied housing opportunities because they have that prior felony conviction. We help to get that conviction taken off their record so they can hopefully find housing. And there's a lot of people who are unemployed and underemployed because of those prior felonies, and we make sure that we do everything that we can to help those individuals get jobs, because what we have found, if people have housing and people have jobs, they very likely are not going to be involved in the criminal justice system, and that's something that we can do to proactively help people.
Do you still plan to not enforce Indiana's new abortion law if the courts allow it to stand?
The role of the prosecutor is to help people, and we're not going to prosecute women, doctors, or nurses. That's not our role. I'm not going to stand between a woman and a doctor and them trying to make really difficult and personal decisions about what's best for their health care. The criminal justice should have no role in that conversation, and we're not going to be a part of those types of cases.
Does the Republican-controlled General Assembly bear some of the blame for the crime in Indianapolis, given that they control the budget, they control policies surrounding prisons and staffing thereof, et cetera?
Well, I think if you look at permitless carry, that's an obvious problem here in Marion County. You know, the value of permitless carry is, number one, when we still had the mechanism to enforce the law in terms of taking guns out of people's hands, we were able to, number one, get those guns off the street. But number two, we tested those guns and we were able to solve a number of cases because we were testing those guns against every homicide case and every non-fatal shooting, and we were able to build cases that allowed for successful prosecutions and interrupt that cycle of violence. The legislature's taken away that tool from us. They've taken away that tool from the prosecutor's office and law enforcement, and as a consequence, we see far too many people in our community walking around with firearms, which doesn't make us safer.
Is there anything in particular that you've seen implemented successfully in other cities that you'd like to try here?
Well, I think there's always, you always look to other jurisdictions where they have made progress. I think one of the biggest challenges that we face right now is what can we do to reduce the rate of recidivism? And I think what is there, how can we enact a policy that provides meaningful services to people who are reentering our community? One of the biggest barriers that we have there is housing. That's not traditionally the role of the prosecutor's office, but I think one of the areas where we can make a lot of improvement if we want to have that impact on violent crime is we have got to help people find housing when they come back into our community, because if we don't, we know that they're going to be involved in the criminal justice system.
Coming up, we hear from Mears' Republican opponent, Cindy Carrasco, on why she is running for prosecutor. Welcome back. We continue our coverage of the race for Marion County prosecutor with the Republican candidate, former State Inspector General Cindy Carrasco. Cindy Carrasco, thank you for joining us today. Why are you running for prosecutor?
I'm running for Marion County prosecutor because our city is facing a public safety crisis, and I believe that public safety is the foundation to opportunity. The opportunity for our families to grow and thrive, the opportunity for our capital city to be vibrant once again. And when you hear about the number of people that are dying in our community, it is absolutely my number one focus to reduce the violent crime that our city is experiencing.
How has your background, including as the daughter of Mexican immigrants, shaped your views on public safety?
It's incredibly important to have public safety. As I say, public safety is the foundation to opportunity. And certainly as the daughter of Mexican immigrants, opportunity is incredibly important for me. I've spent my entire career in public service making sure that Hoosiers have a better opportunity to improve themselves, to be able to make a life for their family, and that's what I intend to do for the residents of Marion County as the prosecutor.
Murders in Indianapolis have dropped by about 17% this year. That's from IMPD. Does that undercut your arguments?
Absolutely not. Listen, we have experienced record homicide rates every single year for the past 2 years. 271 people have died in our city last year. Over 161 people have died just so far. We haven't had a mass shooting, which is why we're not approaching the numbers that we had last year. But what we have had are families, countless of families who have lost their loved ones. We're experiencing as a community the mourning and the grief of record non-fatal shootings every single day. That is too much.
Would you keep any of the public engagement programs that Mears either launched or enhanced, and what changes, if any, would you make on that front?
You know, there are so many things that the prosecutor's office can do. My first and foremost focus is to do everything that that prosecutor's office can do to reduce the violence that our city is experiencing. Absolutely, there are opportunities for us to be able to focus on second chance programs, which are law and will remain as part of the prosecutor's office and some of my priorities when I get into that office. But first and foremost, we have to get this violence under control.
So what strategies in particular do you want to try if you are elected prosecutor?
I am very laser focused on reducing violent crime, and the way that we do that is by holding people accountable. And I'm not talking about putting everyone in jail. I'm talking about the fact that we have to start to set the tone that people who decide to commit crimes here in Marion County are going to have to face consequences. Now, accountability is not a one-size-fits-all. It is absolutely an understanding of taking each and every single case. I believe that every individual's interaction with the criminal justice system is an opportunity. It's a responsibility for us to be able to put them on a better path. But that's not going to happen if we continue to give people passes, if we continue to cut plea deals that puts serious violent offenders back out on the streets. I am laser focused on reducing violence, and it starts with accountability, but it's quickly followed up by partnerships with our law enforcement, partnerships with our neighbors.
Is there anything that you have seen work in other cities that you would like to try here?
Absolutely. There are things that all cities are doing that I would love to bring here. One of those programs is a community prosecutor program. In fact, Indianapolis had a community prosecutor program prior to Ryan Mears being appointed to this position, and he did away with it. I want to reinstitute a community prosecutor program that actually stations a deputy prosecutor to start at least one. We can, subject to change, we can appoint a deputy prosecutor for each sector of the city so that law enforcement will have a dedicated resource and the community will have somebody from the prosecutor's office available to them at all times to have an open line of communication. There are countless things that people across the country are doing, coming together, working in partnership to make sure that the violence that we're experiencing and that other cities are experiencing is put under control.
Does the Republican-controlled General Assembly share some responsibility for some of the problems we're seeing? After all, they're the ones who write the budget, they're the ones who decide staffing, they're the ones who set policies concerning state prisons, for example.
I'm absolutely laser focused on what the prosecutor's office can do. And what I can tell you is that we have a prosecutor right now who refuses to use the laws that the Indiana General Assembly has passed to make sure that our city streets are safe. I'm focused on that, and I'm committed to be a partner to the General Assembly so that any laws that need any changes, tweaking, or review will be brought to light.
Indiana's new abortion ban right now is on hold pending further review by the courts. If the courts do allow that law to stand, will you pursue criminal charges under that law, under the provisions dealing with someone providing abortion services?
The issue of abortion is an issue that is very personal to every single woman, and it's especially personal to me. My husband Robert and I had our first daughter, Sophia, and she passed away just 7 weeks after being born. So I can tell you that I understand the difficult decisions that surround that very issue, and it is not for me to make a decision or a judgment call over a woman who wants to make that decision for themselves.
Coming up, we break down the week's top political headlines with Indiana's best political team. Welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome back Republican strategist Whitley Yates, and we welcome the newest member of Indiana's best political team, Democratic strategist Ariel Brandy. Now let's start with the Marion County prosecutor race. This is for both of you. To what extent is this election a referendum on the criminal justice efforts Democrats have backed for the past 2 or 3 years? How should the parties interpret the results of whoever wins? Ariel, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think right now we're looking at a very good race. And I think Prosecutor Ryan Mears has been doing a great job. He's got a 90% conviction rate. He's building trust within the community. I think with all of those things intact and also just seeing the momentum that he's been able to grow, I mean, we believe we have this in the bag already. Now, I think one of the things to consider is, the varying differences of what people are wanting when it comes to crime in the city, but also, too, looking at the other prosecutorial things that are happening around abortion. I mean, that's one of the hot topics that are happening right now in our state, and I think people are paying attention to that as well. But I think right now, Prosecutor Mears has got this in the bag, and he's looking really strong in polling, but also, too, building the community trust that is needed to get people to believe in the criminal justice system again.
Whitley, same question to you. How do you read this race?
I think that this is an integral race for the city and more importantly for many communities of color. Our homicide rates are out of control. We are watching and noticing that people are being let out on plea deals and going and perpetrating more crime. One of my friends being one of them, she's no longer with us after someone was let out after 1 day. That was supposed to serve 365 days. And I think if we do not get this crime under control and if we do not begin actually prosecuting crimes and people who have committed these violent crimes towards our community, the crime will continuously go out of hand. And so I do think Prosecutor Mears has an advantage. I mean, Marion County has been very blue, but the momentum behind Cindy, the way that she's been able to fundraise, the family she's been able to connect with, and the plan that she has for the city is impeccable.
Quick follow-up, though. Doesn't putting more people in jail cost more money?
I think that we should definitely look at the cost of what it takes to put people in prison, but let's really talk about it. We just spent, $1 million some on a new justice center that needs to be redone. Are we really worried about those types of finances right now? We moved a project that was supposed to be in one place to another place to suit the mayor's desires. And utilized contractors that are now suspicious. And so we're spending more money to fix the Justice Center that was supposed to be better than the current jail that we have. I don't really think that Marion County right now is worried about that. I think we're worried about the high crime, we're worried about homicides, we're worried about the violent offenders that are being let out on plea deals and how that's impacting our lives on a daily basis.
Now, 2 big developments this week regarding Indiana's abortion law. First, the state Supreme Court took over the lawsuit that challenges the law on privacy grounds, but it left in place an order blocking the law. And then on Friday, a Marion County judge heard arguments over religious liberty. Whitley, how concerned should Republicans, especially lawmakers, be over these 2 cases?
I mean, to be honest, I think that we have to let the law do its thing. I think we need to allow these processes, procedures, and cases to take place. I think we want to make policies that are best for all Hoosiers. And in doing so, if anything infringes on anyone's rights, it should definitely be looked into. I'm not too worried that this is going to really impact the laws that were put in place, but we really don't know at this point.
Ariel, since we likely won't get any final rulings on the law before next year, does that minimize Democrats' ability to capitalize on this for midterms?
No, absolutely not. I think if anything, one, I'm glad that we're able to offer safe and legal abortion still in the state of Indiana. It was what majority of Hoosiers wanted to stay intact. And so seeing that now that the courts are ruling in favor of what majority of Hoosiers wanted, I think that it doesn't deter Democrats from what they ultimately wanted at the end of the day. I think, like Whitley said, this gives the opportunity for the court systems to play out and for Hoosiers and taxpayers to be able to really see this system hopefully work in favor of what they wanted to happen around this abortion ban in the first place.
Got about a minute or so left. I want to get to the Secretary of State's race. Republican candidate Diego Morales sat out a televised debate with his opponents on Monday. The League of Women Voters reports numerous cases of Republicans sitting out their debates. Whitley, could this backfire on Republican candidates?
Our Republican candidates are in the field meeting with voters and connecting with Hoosiers on a daily basis. We are in GOTV efforts right now. This isn't for pomp and circumstance. This isn't to televise and to provide more name ID for their opponents. They're on the ground meeting with people, connecting with people. And I think that that's where we should be consistently. I think they want to hold these different forums, and then they held these town halls, and they said that Republicans didn't show up. Well, that's because we're showing up for Hoosiers each and every day. That's because we're out.
We've got about 30 seconds left here. I want to give Ariel a chance to weigh in here. Some Republicans were concerned about the way the league was setting up these debates. Do they have a point here? Should the league work more closely with the party on this?
I think that we just have to make sure that people are showing up for these. If you're going to run for public office and you want to be able to have all voters have a chance and a say, then you have to show up and give them the opportunity to do so. We can't just assume that voters know exactly who.
We'll have to leave it there. Ariel and Whitley, thank you for joining us. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. Have a great rest of your week.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.